If your last name is on this list, your ancestor didn't just live inside the Holy Roman Empire. They served it, they defended it, expanded it, or, in some cases, fought to tear it apart from the inside. These 10 rare German surnames survive in imperial muster rolls, garrison orders, and the regimental records of conflicts that shaped Central Europe for the better part of 800 years. And most of the families carrying these names today have no idea what they once meant on a battlefield. Stay until number 1, because that name belonged to an order of warrior monks whose campaigns are still studied in military academies today. Let's count down. Number 10, Reiter. Reiter means, quite simply, rider. From the Middle High German raten, to ride. But in the Holy Roman Empire, this was never just a description. It was a military classification. By the 16th century, the Reiter were professional cavalry, specifically the heavily armed pistol cavalry that emerged across German territories during that period, sometimes referred to as Schwarze Reiter, the Black Riders, for their dark armor and grim reputation on the battlefield. These were soldiers who could afford a horse, armor, and firearms, meaning they were neither peasants nor nobility, but something in between, a mounted military middle class that didn't exist in most of medieval Europe's rigid social order. Reiter regiments fought throughout the 30 Years' War, from 1618 to 1648. A conflict so devastating that estimates place the death toll between 4 and 8 million people. And some regions of the German lands lost as much as a third of their population before it ended. If your name is Reiter, your bloodline was mounted, armed, and present in the deadliest conflict fought on German soil before the 20th century. Number 9, Wächter. The name sounds like an occupation, and it was, but it was an occupation entrusted with something almost nobody else was given. Wächter means watchman, from wachen, to watch or keep a vigil. In medieval and early modern German towns, the Wächter held one of the most critical roles available to a commoner: control of the town's gates and walls. He decided who was allowed through after dark. He sounded the alarm the moment an approaching army was spotted on the horizon. In the imperial free cities, self-governing towns that answered directly to the emperor rather than to any regional lord, the position of Wächter was sometimes hereditary, passed down through families who had proven their reliability across generations. During sieges, which were a near constant threat throughout both the Hussite Wars of the early 15th century and the 30 Years' War. 2 centuries later, the Wächter was frequently the difference between a town's survival and its complete destruction. If your name is Wächter, your bloodline held the keys to a gate an entire town's survival once depended on. Number 8, Büchsner. This name belongs to an entire profession of war, not soldiers exactly, but specialists so valuable that armies paid extraordinary sums to secure their loyalty, regardless of which side they fought for. Büchsner comes from Buchse, referring to the early handheld firearms that transformed European warfare across the 15th and 16th centuries. A Buchsner was a gunsmith, or, in some regional uses, a soldier who specialized in operating these new and notoriously unreliable weapons. Firearms of this era required real expertise just to load, maintain, and fire safely, and the men who mastered them, sometimes called Buchsenmeister, or master gunners, were treated as specialists in their own right. Many worked as mercenaries, selling their expertise to whichever prince or city-state offered the best terms. The Holy Roman Empire's fragmentation into hundreds of competing territories created enormous, constant demand for exactly this kind of mobile, portable military expertise. If your name is Büchsner, your bloodline carried a skill so specialized that loyalty became secondary to capability. Your ancestors were hired for what they could do, not for where they happened to be born. Number 7. Hochmeister. This name is tied to one of the most feared military religious orders in European history. Men who took vows of poverty and obedience, then conquered an entire stretch of the Baltic coast by force. Hochmeister, meaning Grandmaster, was the title held by the supreme commander of the Teutonic Order, the Catholic military order founded in 1190 during the Crusades, which went on to conquer and rule Prussia as its own independent monastic state. The Hochmeister commanded knight brothers, who fused the religious discipline of monks with the professional training of soldiers, an institution unlike almost anything else medieval Europe produced. Families who carried Hochmeister as a surname, rather than simply a title tied to one office holder, were typically descended from administrators or senior officials within Teutonic Order territory. Men trusted with real authority inside one of history's most militarized theocracies. The Order's dominance eventually cracked after its defeat at the Battle of Grunwald in 1410, but its administrative structure shaped Prussian governance for centuries afterward. If your name is Hochmeister, your bloodline once carried the title of men who ruled an entire Baltic realm through the sword and the cross at the same time. Number 6. Lutter. This name belongs to a family whose loyalty was tested by the single most consequential religious rupture in European history, and the side they landed on determined whether they lived in relative peace or under siege for the century that followed. Lutter is a surname of disputed origin, possibly locational, tied to one of several towns named Lutter in Lower Saxony, or possibly an early phonetic variant connected to the most explosive name in German religious history, Luther. Whether or not the two are directly linked, families named Lutter were concentrated precisely in the regions where the Protestant Reformation took hold most powerfully after Martin Luther posted his 95 Theses in Wittenberg in 1517. The Reformation split the Holy Roman Empire in two, largely Catholic territories in the south, largely Protestant territories in the north, and that religious fracture became one of the underlying causes of the 30 Years' War less than a century later. Families on the Protestant side faced excommunication, invasion by Catholic armies, and decades of religious warfare that devastated entire provinces. If your name is Lutter, your bloodline may have lived through a schism that didn't just divide a church. It redrew the military and political map of Central Europe for the next 300 years. If one of these names belongs to your family, drop it in the comments and tell me which region your family comes from. The deeper history of any single one of these surnames is often more layered than a 5-minute segment can fully cover. And if you're enjoying these hidden military histories, subscribe to Surname Origins. A new surname breakdown goes up every week. Now, back to the countdown. Number 5. Schmidt. This name is built from iron, not metaphorically, literally. The profession it describes equipped every army that marched across German territory for half a millennium. Schmidt means smith, and it remains one of the most common surnames in the German-speaking world for a very simple reason. Every army, every town, and every castle needed smiths. Men who forge swords, armor, horseshoes, cannon, and the thousands of metal components that medieval and early modern warfare consumed without pause. But not every Schmidt held equal status. Waffenschmiede, or weaponsmiths, occupied an elevated position and were frequently retained directly by noble houses or imperial free cities, sometimes granted privileges unavailable to ordinary craftsmen because their skill was considered essential to military survival. During the 30 Years' War, control over skilled smiths became an outright strategic asset. Towns and armies actively recruited and sometimes forcibly protected the smiths within their walls. If your name is Schmidt, the single most common German surname in existence, it carries inside it one simple fact. Somewhere in your bloodline was a family whose hands built the weapons that nearly every war in German history depended on. Number 4. Bergman. This is the name of a fortress builder, and the fortifications his family built still stand today, having outlasted sieges that destroyed nearly everything around them. Bergman means mountain man, from Berg, mountain, and man, man. It originally described miners, who in the Holy Roman Empire occupied a uniquely protected legal status thanks to the strategic importance of mining silver, iron, and salt for the imperial economy and its armies. Over time, the Bergman name also attached itself to families who specialized in mountain fortifications, castles and strongholds built into difficult, defensible terrain, specifically because that terrain made them nearly impossible to besiege effectively. The mountainous regions of Saxony, Thuringia, and the Harz Mountains were dotted with fortifications like these throughout the medieval and early modern periods, many of them controlled by families whose mining wealth funded construction, and whose mining expertise shaped the engineering itself. If your name is Bergman, your bloodline understood something that entire armies spent centuries learning the hard way. The mountain itself is the best fortification anyone can build. Number 3. Kurfürst. This name carries the rank of a man who answered to no one but the emperor himself, a position so elevated that the family who held it functioned as royalty in everything but name. Kurfürst means Prince Elector, the most powerful rank in the Holy Roman Empire below the emperor. Originally 7, later expanded to 9, the Kurfürsten held the exclusive right to elect the Holy Roman Emperor, a privilege formalized by the Golden Bull of 1356. These were not minor nobles. The Prince-Electors of Saxony, Brandenburg, the Palatinate, and other territories controlled lands larger than many fully independent European kingdoms, maintaining their own armies, minting their own currency, and negotiating on the world stage as near-sovereign powers in their own right. Families who carried Kurfürst as a surname, rather than a title tied to a single ruling house, were typically connected to electoral administration. Officials, military commanders, or diplomatic representatives serving directly within an elector's court. The 30 Years' War was fought substantially over which religion the electors would impose across their territories, placing this rank at the absolute center of the conflict that defined the era. If your name is Kurfürst, your bloodline served at the summit of imperial power, one level below the crown itself. Number 2, Bauer, from Festungsbauer. This is the name of a military engineer, a specialist, whose skill determined whether a city survived a siege or fell within days, and whose expertise was so valuable that capturing him alive was sometimes a war objective in itself. Festungsbauer, fortress builder, from Festung, fortress, and Bauer, builder, a name that survives today, most often simply as Bauer, frequently in combination with regional or occupational variants. Military engineering in the Holy Roman Empire became an increasingly specialized and lucrative discipline as siege warfare evolved across the 16th and 17th centuries, particularly after the introduction of star-shaped bastion fortifications capable of withstanding sustained cannon fire. Engineers who mastered this discipline, designing bastions, calculating precise angles of defense, overseeing massive construction projects, were retained at extraordinary expense by both imperial free cities and territorial princes. Several surviving fortress towns of the German lands, including portions of the fortifications at Ingolstadt and Würzburg, retain construction still attributed in municipal records to engineering families whose names have survived alongside the walls themselves. If your surname carries Bauer in combination with a military or fortress association, your bloodline may carry the legacy of men whose mathematics and stonework decided the outcome of sieges before a single shot was fired. Number 1. Ordensritter. And now, number 1. This name belongs to the most feared and most disciplined military religious order the medieval world produced. Men who conquered, converted, and governed an entire region through a combination of absolute monastic obedience and professional military force that has never been fully replicated since. Ordensritter, Order Knight, was the formal designation for a full brother knight of the Teutonic Order. Unlike secular knights, who served a lord in exchange for land or payment, an Ordensritter took permanent monastic vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, surrendering personal wealth and family inheritance entirely to the order itself. In return, he received the most rigorous military training available anywhere in medieval Europe and joined a fighting force that conquered the pagan Baltic region known as Prussia between 1230 and 1283, establishing a monastic state that would eventually evolve into the secular Duchy of Prussia, the direct territorial ancestor of the Kingdom of Prussia, and ultimately of the German Empire that unified under Prussian leadership in 1871. Families descended from Ordensritter administrators, lay brothers, or the secular knights who served alongside the order in Prussia carried this association as a surname for generations. A direct line to one of the most militarily disciplined institutions in European history. If your name is Ordensritter, or carries this association in any of its surviving variants, your bloodline traces back to warrior monks whose conquest of the Baltic laid the foundation for a nation that wouldn't fully emerge for another 600 years. 10 surnames. 10 corridors leading back through Reformation fire, fortress walls, electoral courts, mountain mines, and the monastic battlefields of the Teutonic Order. Your name is not decoration. In these 10 cases, it's a military record. And if your surname is on this list, somewhere in your family's deep past, there's an ancestor who held a position, a rank, or a vow inside the most complex political and military structure medieval Europe ever produced. Drop your surname in the comments. Tell us if it's on this list, or tell us what you've always been told about where your name comes from. Subscribe to Surname Origins for a new surname origin video every week. Another name, another bloodline, another history nobody told you was yours.